And we're kicking off with Raw, as Cody Rhodes started off last night's show and used some interesting verbiage to explain his decision to bring Jey Uso to Raw. During his speech, Rhodes said that "we're not in the third inning anymore," a nod to Paul Heyman's comment after SummerSlam that the Bloodline saga is nowhere close to being over. Rhodes has had his issues with the Bloodline, but explained that despite not being best friends with Jey, he didn't want to see Uso sink after quitting SmackDown following SummerSlam. Rhodes also said that there were other reasons to bring back Jey, teasing that he may use Uso's knowledge to go after Roman Reigns again, this time without the whole Bloodline on his side. Rhodes' promo was cut short by the Judgment Day, and the American Nightmare and Dominik would trade some verbal barbs, with the crowd hanging on every word. While Dom was talking, you could tell WWE was only playing audio from his mic in the arena and not from the direct feed that they have from the mic. It was pretty funny when he finally got upset about all the boos. Mysterio, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest prepared to attack Rhodes until Jey Uso showed up, and while the group was still going to attack, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens showed up to give the faces the numbers advantage. JD McDonough showed up with some steel chairs, but Priest hesitating to join them in the attack allowed the baby faces to maintain the upper hand, and the four would attack Priest to end the segment. The main event of the show saw Balor and Priest put their tag team titles on the line against Owens and Zayn, and the four were brawling as soon as the bell was rung. It should come as no surprise to anyone that this was a good match, as it feels like it'd be much more effort for the four reliable veterans to have a bad match at this point in their careers. As expected, Dominik showed up toward the end in an attempt to interfere, and Jey Uso, JD McDonough, and Cody Rhodes all showed up as a huge brawl broke out at ringside. The finish saw McDonough use a title belt to knock out Zayn so Priest could get the win, in a fun, if not somewhat overbooked, finish to the show. While the match was good, it's hard to ignore that this episode felt like Groundhog Day, with Raw's opening segment feeling like it's been done almost every week for months. How often have we seen Cody Rhodes open the show only to be interrupted by the Judgment Day with an assortment of faces backing Rhodes up before JD McDonough joins the heels? Of course, this happened this week to build the tag team title main event, but it's part of a larger issue of repetition in WWE, but especially around these particular superstars. Once again, McDonough helped Balor and Priest win, much like he tried to do at Payback, and this week's finish made it clear that these two sides aren't done with each other. If we had to put money on it, expect Cody, Uso, or Zayn and Owens to open up next week's Raw, only to be interrupted by the Judgment Day in a segment that'll give fans serious deja vu. As a recent episode of SmackDown proved, The Rock remains one of the most popular superstars of all time, as his surprise return proved to be a hit with fans. Unsurprisingly, The Rock's return has had fans clamoring to see more of the Great One, and it turns out that the People's Champion may be heading down under. In February 2024, WWE will host its Elimination Chamber event from Optus Stadium in Perth, Australia, the first premium live event in Australia since 2018, and that could see the return of The Rock. This speculation began with a report from The West, which suggests WWE will bring in The Rock for Elimination Chamber as part of the build towards a WrestleMania showdown with Roman Reigns. The recent merger of UFC and WWE, both now under Endeavor, have added to the anticipation, as Endeavor will no doubt want to make its first WrestleMania a show to remember. It was shortly before his return on SmackDown that The Rock told listeners of the Pat McAfee show that he's open to a match with Reigns next April, and it was at one point the plan for this year's show. One WWE superstar with their eye on The Rock is Australia's own Grayson Waller, who tweeted that it'd be silly for The Rock to come to Elimination Chamber in Perth. Waller added that, "We want you to be healthy in April," adding another layer to the rumors that the Brahma Bull could be competing next year at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. In fact, one source said that ideas being floated around are for The Rock to appear on the Grayson Waller effect in Perth, possibly starting a feud between the two, with another idea that he could get involved in the Reigns match, setting up a showdown in Philly. Of course, a lot could change between now and Elimination Chamber, but are you excited at a possible return by the Great One? Let us know in the comments. On last week's SmackDown, John Cena was ready to team with AJ Styles to face Solo Sikoa and Jey Uso, but only 3 men would make it to the contract signing later in the show. After Styles was attacked backstage by the Bloodline, only Cena, Sikoa, and Uso signed the paperwork for Fastlane, and on Raw, it was stated that this will now be a handicap match. LA Knight was originally scheduled to be on SmackDown and would have aligned himself with Cena before health issues resulted in the megastar being pulled from the show and replaced with AJ. That all hinges though on Knight testing negative, and if he does, he'll be in the main event. But if not, WWE will either stick with the handicap stipulation or bring back Styles. Fans who attended last week's SmackDown were no doubt disappointed that Knight wasn't on the show, and it's been revealed that WWE offered refunds to ticket holders before the doors opened. WWE typically only announces a no-show for top-tier wrestlers like Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, so the fact that they did this with Knight shows the company holds him in high regard. WWE also informed media outlets of Knight's positive test, something they haven't typically done in the past, and this may be a part of a commitment of transparency and public safety by Endeavor. Knight wasn't on last week's SmackDown, but he should be at Fastlane if he can recover in time, in what will be just another major milestone for the megastar who continues to impress audiences. Now, Drew McIntyre was heavily featured during last night's Raw, as the arrival of Jey Uso has been just one issue that has put the Scottish Warrior in a bad place. On Miz TV, McIntyre was interrupted by The New Day, setting up a match between Drew and Kofi Kingston, and on commentary, Wade Barrett said that McIntyre is in a dark place mentally. Few names in WWE have known McIntyre for longer than Barrett, but that dark place didn't prevent Drew from getting a much-deserved victory over Kingston on Raw. After the match, McIntyre returned to the back and refused to help Kofi fend off an attack from Ivar of the Viking Raiders, another significant sign that a heel turn is imminent for the Scotsman. As for what'll come after this turn, who's to say, though some predict a feud with Cody Rhodes, but no matter what, expect a big change in the character of Drew McIntyre. This week's Raw saw a huge title match confirmed for next month's Fastlane, as it was confirmed that Seth Rollins will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. After an in-ring promo on Raw by Rollins, Nakamura appeared on the Titantron to lay out the challenge, saying he wants to face Seth in a last man standing match. Rollins was quick to accept the challenge, as he's been wanting a rematch with the King of Strong Style, who has played mind games with the champion in the weeks before and since Payback. Interestingly, Ricochet appeared on crutches during Raw, and though he didn't disclose what his injuries are, said it'll take a lot more to keep the highlight of the night down. Ricochet then said he has unfinished business with Nakamura, who is seemingly responsible for Ricochet's condition, though we're not sure if this is a kayfabe injury or if he's actually hurt. Either way, if Nakamura does to Rollins what he's done to Ricochet, we could see a new World Heavyweight Champion at Fastlane, in what'll no doubt be an exciting last man standing match. When Matt Riddle was released last week, he became one of the biggest names cut from the company this year, but many were not surprised to see his tenure come to an end. Riddle had been a source of controversy for some time, with infidelity, a stint in rehab, and recently a drunken incident at an airport, and Booker T is among those who are not surprised by his release. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker addressed Riddle's release, which he believes the former Raw Tag Team Champion brought on himself. He explained, "There is only so much that is going to be tolerated. It catches up to you. You become a liability. I was not shocked or surprised this happened. You put yourself in a position for something to happen. 9 times out of 10, it'll happen." Booker said that plenty of guys would have been released if they'd done what Riddle had done, and questioned if AEW and Tony Khan want Riddle's baggage by signing him in the future. The former WWE superstar has since resurfaced on social media, appearing in a photo shoot with his pregnant girlfriend Misha Montana in Riddle's first online presence since he was released. Whatever happens next for Riddle in wrestling, it won't be until after his non-compete clause expires on December 20th, and what do you think will be next for the original Bro? In April of this year, former WWE writer Brittany Abrahams filed a lawsuit against WWE, claiming she was unfairly terminated after taking exception with multiple racially motivated pitched ideas. The suit claimed that Chris Dunn, Ryan Callahan, Jennifer Pepperman, Christine Lubrano, Mike Heller, Vince McMahon, and Stephanie McMahon as defendants, and included some truly shocking ideas. One writer suggested a storyline in which Mansoor had a secret, with the reveal being that he was the mastermind behind 9/11, with this being part of a love triangle with Aaliyah and Angel Garza. On Twitch, Mansoor addressed the idea and said he was surprised WWE let him go, as he predicted WWE would keep him around to avoid any more bad press due to this angle. He said, "The 9/11 thing, storyline pitch from WWE writer, I'm actually surprised that I got fired because of this 9/11 thing. I thought I was going to get another year out of that story. There's no way they're going to fire me after this came out." It's funny because that happened when we were in Europe. That story dropped. I remember we were doing the tour in Europe and somebody texted me, I don't even want to say it because obviously they weren't considering this. It was not a real pitch, it was an inappropriate joke I think, I hope. Nobody told it to me. Whether it was a real idea or not, it was still wholly inappropriate for the matter to be addressed in the writer's room, especially considering that certain talent were personally impacted by 9/11. Thankfully, the 9/11 idea never went any further in WWE's production than the writer's room, and with Mansoor now out of the company, he'll have to forge his future in another promotion. More from Raw as Dominik Mysterio put the NXT North American Championship on the line against Dragon Lee this week in the Masked Superstar's first main roster match. The two have faced before in NXT, but this week's match was on a larger scale and saw Mysterio go it alone without Rhea Ripley, as Mommy is in Australia and was live tweeting during the show. Both men seriously impressed, with Mysterio looking especially confident for someone who's been working tag team matches, and he was able to stand on his own 2 feet as a superstar this week. Dragon Lee and Dirty Dom earned themselves a "This is awesome" chant before Mysterio was able to retain his title, in what hopefully won't be the last time we see these two square off. For last week's Raw, Tegan Nox was replaced by Natalya as Becky Lynch's opponent, but the Welsh superstar was given her chance to shine this week. With Lynch at ringside, the reigning NXT Women's Champion watched on as Nox got a win over Natalya, earning herself a title shot at the Man's Gold. Nox will be next in line for a title match after No Mercy, where Becky Lynch will defend her title against Tiffany Stratton in an Extreme Rules match, and it's great she's finally getting an opportunity. While this match was positioned as a young talent taking on a veteran, Nox is no rookie, as the 28-year-old already has a decade of experience and made full use of her skills on Raw. This week's match feels like the first time since Nox returned to WWE last year that we've really been given a chance to see her wrestle, which may be thanks to a lack of top women on the show. Besides Becky Lynch, there weren't any female champions on Raw, as Rhea Ripley is still away, which isn't ideal given that the other Judgment Day members all defended their titles. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven seem to be left off the show, with no explanation being given, and considering the rough run of the titles, the champion should be on TV each week, either backstage or in the ring. Green especially must get screen time each Monday as she continues to prove to be a highlight each week, and while she was also entertaining of her live tweeting during the show, she really should have been on it. As for Nox, it's always a good sign to see young stars be given a chance to shine, especially someone as talented as Nox, and the future seems encouraging if WWE continue to use her this way. In the weeks since Nia Jax returned to WWE, the irresistible force has laid waste to everyone who stepped up to her, and this week, Jax had her first match back against Zoey Stark. While Stark put up a valiant effort, it was Jax who got the win and paid tribute to the famed Anoa'i wrestling family she's a part of. Jax finished Stark off with a leg drop and a bonsai drop, and fans will recognize that this was the same combination used by the late Yokozuna. This match happened after a promo in which Jax spoke about her dominance since returning to WWE and made it clear that she's ready to tear the entire roster apart. It appears that Jax has adopted her relative's finisher after using the Samoan drop during her return and attack on Raquel Rodriguez. And who do you want to see face off with Jax next? Raw also saw Tommaso Ciampa demand an Intercontinental title match with Gunther, but Ludwig Kaiser shut down the idea and challenged the Blackheart to a match. After defeating Kaiser in a hard-fought match, Ciampa made the challenge to Gunther again, and with all of the Austrians' talk about respecting fierce opponents, he may have no choice but to accept. There's been a lot of talk as of late about WWE releases, but one name who has done exceptionally well for herself since being cut is Mandy Rose, who made over $1 million on her website in the weeks after her shocking December 2022 exit. Recently, Rose launched an OnlyFans page, which has already proven to be massively popular, adding even more revenue to her consistently swelling bank account. Speaking to TMZ this week, Rose spoke about her life after WWE and is pleased that her future has been assured, at least when it comes to finances. She said, "It's been amazing. Financially, I've been doing really well, and honestly, personally and mentally, I've been doing amazing. I have so much more time to spend with my family and just get involved in more things that I never thought I'd get involved in. It's been kind of life-changing, I really must say. I'm really blessed. I will say that I have a lot of financial freedom right now, which is really amazing. That's why I'm so grateful that I'm able to help my family right now and kind of rejuvenate their business they got going on and just continue with my future. so it's been pretty lucrative, not gonna lie. With the amount she's made, Rose doesn't need to return to wrestling, but if she does, all major promotions would likely have to accept her on her terms, such as a relaxed schedule. Do you think we'll one day see Mandy Rose back in a ring, whether it's WWE or elsewhere? Or is wrestling again not worth her time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. In his first comment since being released from WWE, Rick Boogs said that backstage politics ended his time with the company, and that someone must have had a weird grudge against him. Boogs has also claimed that when Vince McMahon retired last year, it killed his career, but if Boogs plans on making a comeback to WWE, these comments aren't doing him any favors. When Ringside News reached out to sources in WWE about Boogs' claims, a tenured member of WWE's team said that there is a sense of disbelief regarding what he had to say. Boogs' comments sound like something Ryback would say, in other words, stupid and delusional. And the source said that if Boogs wasn't on video saying these things, they'd swear he'd been hacked. While Boogs may have vented about his release, the source gave no indication that he burned his bridge with WWE, and it's been reported that WWE could rehire some released talent. That being said, Boogs probably needs to keep those controversial comments to himself if he wants to be in consideration, and if he doesn't, then don't expect him again in a WWE ring. More from AEW now, as during a Q&A with ad-free shows, Eddie Kingston, the newly crowned ROH champion, confirmed that he inked a new 4-year deal with Tony Khan's promotion. Former TBS champion Jade Cargill is reportedly on her way to WWE, but she isn't the only former AEW competitor looking to land in the Stamford-based promotion. A new report from Fightful confirmed that Haley J, daughter of 6-time OVW Women's Champion Amazing Maria, has been reportedly signed by WWE. The 3-time Ohio Valley Wrestling Women's Champion has also competed in AEW, with her last match for the Jacksonville-based promotion coming back in March of this year. Haley was reportedly set to try out for WWE in Orlando last week, but Fightful Select has reported that she was pulled from the tryout due to an issue regarding medical paperwork. The young star was one of the prospects announced to be taking part, but it seems that she'll have to wait until the issue is sorted out. It's been just over a month since the sad passing of Bray Wyatt, and if you've been on WWE.com, you'll have noticed a touching tribute to Bray on the roster page. While Wyatt is of course not on the roster now, WWE has left an image of his rocking chair at the top of the long grouping of superstar profiles, as the 3-time world champion will never be forgotten. And we're ending with some unfortunate news, as Sheamus is dealing with what's been called a major shoulder injury, which is why he hasn't competed on TV or at live events in over a month. There's scarce details about Sheamus' injury, so it's impossible to say when fans can expect him back, but we're wishing the former WWE World Champion a speedy recovery.